When we say that it's high time African countries begin to deal with Western multinational companies, people think that we are not serious. But thankfully, the military leader of Mali, Colonel Assimi Goïta, has just proved the necessity of dealing with these Western companies. A few days ago, the military leader issued an arrest warrant for the CEO of Barrick Gold, a Canadian gold mining company that has dominated the mining sector in Mali for years. This company, together with the other foreign mining companies in Mali, has exploited Mali's gold and made billions of dollars of profit, while Mali has been dealing with high levels of poverty and insecurity crisis. The question is, why exactly is Colonel Assimi Goïta planning to arrest the CEO of Barrick Gold? What does he hope to achieve? And what can other African leaders learn from this? Let's find out. Mali, like Burkina Faso, is one of the leading producers of gold in Africa. But it also has an ample supply of manganese and lithium, two minerals key to the global energy transition, although these two minerals have not been extensively explored. According to the former mines minister, gold accounts for 25% of Mali's national budget, 75% of its export earnings, and 10% of its GDP. This is to tell you how important gold is to Mali's economy. However, just like most African countries' mining sectors, Mali's mining sector has been dominated since independence by Western mining companies, including the Canadian firms Barrick Gold and B2 Gold, Australia's Resolute Mining, and the British Hummingbird Resources. And the interesting thing is that these companies have continued to operate in Mali, despite the jihadist insurgency. Actually, this is very curious. Usually in countries facing severe insecurity like Mali and Burkina Faso, foreign companies present in those countries prefer to shut down operations for fear of insecurity. But in Mali and other countries in the Sahel region, facing severe insecurity crises from terrorists, these companies continue to operate. And guess what? We rarely hear news about the terrorists attacking these companies. This is very suspicious, and it makes us wonder whether perhaps these companies are collaborating with the jihadists to ensure their safety. But that is not the focus of today's video. Now, before Colonel Assimi Goïta took over power in Mali, the previous Malian leadership operated a national mining code to which all foreign companies were subject. But like every other African country dealing with foreign companies, the mining code granted greater benefits to the Western mining company. For instance, the code allowed Mali to hold only a maximum of 20% stake in any mines exploited by a foreign company. This means that the foreign company is entitled to an 80% stake. In addition to this, the code granted tax exemption to these companies during the period of operation. Just imagine how much tax revenue the Malian government has been missing out on. But that was the agreement, and for years, these companies milked the benefits from the code. They exploit Mali's raw gold at a cheap price, transport the raw gold to their factories in their countries, process it into finished products, and sell the products at ridiculously expensive rates. And through it all, Mali is battling with insecurity and poverty. As much as we blame the Western companies, we also blame the past foolish government for agreeing to that mining code. Anyways, when Colonel Assimi Goïta came on the scene, everything changed. You see, just like President Traoré of Burkina Faso, Colonel Assimi Goïta has made the sovereignty and complete independence of Mali a top priority in his leadership. This is why in August 2023, Colonel Assimi Goïta signed a new mining code into law. Prior to this time, Colonel Assimi had pledged to the people of Mali that he intended to implement a reform that would make gold shine for Malians. So, he launched an audit of the mining sector, and guess what? The audit revealed that every year, Mali was losing about $500 million to $1 billion in mining revenues. Imagine that. Before we proceed, we want to remind you to click the like button, drop a comment, and subscribe to our channel. Now, unlike some African leaders who do not keep their pledges, the military leader finally fulfilled his pledge and signed a new mining code on August 28, 2023. But what is the new mining code about? According to the statement released, the new mining code allows the government to take up to 35% stakes in new mineral projects and collect more revenues from the vital industry. This means that Colonel Assimi increased the government stakes in mining operations from 20% to 35%, with 5% given to local Malian investors. Now, according to the Malian economic minister, the new mining code has the potential of boosting the national budget by $820 million. The reform allows the government to hold up to 10% equity in new projects with the option to buy an additional 20% during the first 2 years of commercial production. It also allows the Malian private sector to hold up to 5%. In addition to this, code also removes tax exemptions for mining companies during operations. This means that with the new code, all foreign mining companies in Mali are expected to pay their taxes. Now, not only would it boost the national budget, but the new mining code would increase mining's contribution to GDP from around 10% to 20%. This is brilliant, but guess what? Some of these companies have refused to adhere to the new mining code. According to them, the mines they are exploiting should be subject to the previous code, which was in force at the time of their commissioning. So, as a result of their refusal, the implementation of the code was stalled for months until Colonel Assimi decided to take drastic action. Firstly, the military junta made it known that the new mining code was not up for debate, so it is either they take it or leave the country. Of course, these companies would not want to leave the country due to the massive gains they are getting. So, Colonel Assimi decided to do something else. In September, for example, the Malian authorities briefly detained 4 employees working for Barrick Gold, the world's second largest gold miner, and accused the company of financial misconduct. According to the authorities in Mali, Barrick Gold owes about $512 million in outstanding debt, mainly unpaid taxes and dividends. According to a source working with the mining company and the Malian government, this amount covers taxes owed from 2020, 2021, and 2022. This means that for more than 3 years, Barrick Gold has not paid its taxes, and yet it has been operational in the country. There is no doubt that this also applies to other foreign companies exploiting Mali's gold. These companies earn billions of profit, but refuse to give the government its due. This is pure wickedness. However, Colonel Assimi Goita has shown that he will not accept the actions of these mining companies, and that is why he decided to arrest some officials of the company as a way to prove his seriousness. Now, according to a recent report, the CEO of Barrick Gold has seen that the military leader of Mali is quite serious with his demands. In an interview, he said that Barrick Gold is prepared to increase Mali's economic benefit of the mines to 50%. Although he didn't comment when asked about the $512 million, the Mali authority is asking for, a senior official in another mining company stated that it's possible that Barrick was preparing to make a $300 to $350 million payment to the government. Now, we do not know if this is true, but one thing we are sure of is the fact that Colonel Assimi Goita would not change his demands. Barrick Gold would certainly pay what it owes to Mali if it wants to continue operations. The spokesperson for Barrick stated that, "We are still in the process of negotiation and will let you know once the agreement is settled." However, it seems that negotiations between Barrick Gold and Mali's leaders have stalled, and to prove that he is serious, the military leader of Mali has decided to issue an arrest warrant for the CEO of Barrick Gold. According to the statement released a few days ago, the CEO of Barrick has been accused of money laundering and violating financial regulations. The statement also revealed that authorities in Mali are seeking the arrest of Abbas Coulibaly, the general manager of the Canadian mining company's Loulo-Gounkoto complex. Interestingly, the Loulo-Gounkoto operation is significant for Barrick, accounting for nearly 14% of the Toronto-based company's annual gold production and almost 12% of total revenue last year. As one Canadian analyst, the military leader of Mali has decided to take an aggressive approach toward negotiations with mining companies in the country. The aim of this is to pressure these foreign companies that have been benefiting massively from Mali's resources and ensure that Mali gets the revenue and income it deserves from its abundant gold resources. Interestingly, Barrick Gold is not the only company that Colonel Assimi Goita is applying pressure on. Just last month, the military leader arrested the CEO and 3 other officials of Resolute Mining, an Australian company. According to the company reports, they were arrested while visiting the country for talks over an unspecified dispute. In a statement published on Resolute Mining's website, Andrew Ray, the company's non-executive chairman, said that the 3 officials were unexpectedly detained after discussions about claims made against the company, without elaborating. The interesting thing is that when the CEO and the three officials were first arrested, the company said that the claims made by the Malian government were false and unsubstantiated. The company wanted to create a narrative that Mali was wrong for arresting its CEO. But guess what? Colonel Assimi Goïta did not care about this narrative and didn't even bother to comment on the matter. He remained firm in his decision to detain the company's CEO and its officials, sending a message to the company that he was serious. And his resilience paid off, and the company got the message. A few days after the arrest, the company announced that it had agreed to pay its tax debt. In a public statement, the company revealed that all claims made against it by the Malian government, including those related to tax, customs levies, maintenance, and management of offshore accounts, have been settled. It also revealed that it would pay half of its debt, amounting to $160 million, from its cash reserves, and the other half would come in the following months. There is no doubt that Mali's junta intends to get a similar result by issuing an arrest warrant for the CEO of Barrick Gold. For a long time, Western companies have operated under the idea that they can act as they like in African countries. As a result of the so-called policies suggested by the World Bank and IMF, African leaders cower and allow these companies to profit massively from the country's resources while they receive peanuts. They do this all in the name of attracting foreign direct investment. But what is the point of this investment if it only benefits these Western companies? But thankfully, the military leaders of the Sahel region, including Colonel Assimi Goïta, have decided to take a different approach to dealing with these companies. By making a resolute and aggressive decision, these companies have come to the realization that they cannot just act as they want. Now, the refusal of these foreign companies to heed the demands of the Malian government brings to mind a similar situation in Senegal. If you recall, one of the pledges made by Senegalese President Diomaye Faye during his presidential campaign was to renegotiate mining and fishing contracts with these Western companies. And just like Colonel Assimi Goïta did, President Faye announced that his administration intends to conduct an audit of the oil, gas, and mining sectors. According to the newly appointed Senegalese Energy and Mines Minister, Birame Souleye Diop, closer scrutiny of the sectors was high on the agenda for Senegal, and it is necessary because Senegal is due to start oil and gas production this year after much delay. Senegal's Energy and Mines Minister further revealed that the scrutiny of the mining sector will involve publishing the contracts, carrying out a mining audit, working in the interests of the people, and, if necessary, renegotiating all existing contracts. Companies involved in the audit include BP and US-listed Cosmo Energy, which are leading the development of Greater Tortue Ahmeyim, Senegal's first LNG project, and Australia's Woodside Energy, just to name a few. Australia's Woodside Energy holds 82% of Senegal's offshore Sangomar oil and gas field, which is expected to start oil production in mid-2024. Energy Minister Diop made it clear that Senegal will strive to promote resources to our partners in a way that is strictly in line with the interests of the Senegalese public. However, since the news came out that Senegal intends to audit the mining companies, which means that the government is serious about renegotiating contracts, Senegal's mining industry has gone into an uproar with these Western companies and even former President Macky Sall, who should be deemed a traitor, raising concerns about the possibility and the risk of renegotiating these contracts. One of the first companies to raise concerns is the Australian Woodside Energy Company, which operates in the Sangomar oil field in central western Senegal in association with Petrosen, Senegal's national oil company. According to a spokesperson for the company, Christine Forster, Woodside Energy respects the right of governments to determine the legal and regulatory frameworks that govern oil and gas development. However, she added, our experience has shown that the most successful jurisdictions have been those that work in partnership with industry, respect contract sanctity, and create investment certainty. In other words, Woodside Energy believes that the only way for Senegal's oil and gas industry to be successful under Faye's administration is for the government to behave like the previous administration and leave the existing contracts which benefits the company more than the country. And the reason why they have to do this is that Senegal needs to maintain investors' certainty. In some ways, this statement from Woodside Energy is like a veiled threat meant to bully the government of Senegal into submission. But we will come to this later. Despite all these concerns about how risky renegotiating the contracts is, the fact is that Senegal is moving in the right direction by planning to renegotiate mining contracts. International economist and industrial development expert Papa Demba Thiam, who has no affiliation with Senegal's oil and gas industry and has looked at the situation objectively, confirmed that Senegal has the right to renegotiate contracts and it is not in any way risky. According to Papa Demba, most mining or PPP or hydrocarbon contracts are renegotiated in the world. He cited an example of the Latin American Caribbean zone where, according to him, 40 to 92% of contracts are renegotiated over a period ranging from 1 to 8 years after they are signed. Demba then said something interesting. He said, "We are brandishing the specter of risk, saying that the country that does it won't be considered safe and that's going to scare investors away. It is a form of political and moral blackmail on underdeveloped countries." In Senegal, the constitution declares that natural resources belong to the people and must benefit them. Did you hear that? Since African independence and Western companies started coming to exploit African resources, the situation has always been like this. The company gets more benefits and enjoys tax holidays while the country gets little from it. And the clause that has hindered African countries from getting what they deserve is the fear that it may drive investors away. But the question is, what is the point of attracting investors to exploit what belongs to the country if it won't benefit the country? As we earlier stated, there is absolutely no point. African countries should learn to stand their ground and demand what belongs to them from these mining contracts and see if investors will be driven. The truth is, they will not because they need our resources. So President Faye should not be concerned or blackmailed into accepting the contract. He should stand his ground and demand benefits that are in the interest of his people. In fact, he should follow in the footsteps of Mali, military ruler, Colonel Assimi Goïta, who has refused to cower before these Western companies. This is the reason why we say that African countries need strong leaders who can confidently take actions that will benefit their countries without fear of the consequences. Hopefully, the Senegalese president will follow in the footsteps of Assimi Goïta and take control of his country's resources. What are your thoughts? Let us know in the comment section below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video.